the city council, when I hit the cul-de-sac, I'd go and circle around and make sure that I would hit the sidewalk at the end of the cul-de-sac and come back. So I didn't miss any of those. So I wanted to comment that the city itself is very well managed. I mean, I've literally seen the whole thing, and I'm quite impressed. So I run quite a bit. I've run in other towns, and in fact, you know, I even mixed in some runs in Payson and Salem, and Springville, and I'm not saying this just, you know, I'm saying this from exactly what I saw. This city is just beautiful. The streets, there's sidewalks everywhere. The only place where there aren't sidewalks is where development hasn't taken place, and even there I felt safe. So it's a very good city to navigate. So I want to personally express my gratitude to the city council, to those who are on the staff for the city, and, you know, for the citizens who've lived here for years on making such a beautiful city. And it's been wonderful to see the whole thing, and thank you for your time.
Thanks, Paul. Now, that's pretty impressive.
Please email that to us.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Paul, how's your fiber from working from home?
How's my what?
Your fiber,
Internet.
your internet,
Great.
fiber,
Yeah, that is
yeah.
the one thing.
Okay.
So I work for Adobe, and
Oh.
we're all sort of comparing notes on how well our connection is. Mine's always the best.
Good.
I've only had one time with any issue, but I'm rocking, so.
I like that. Love that. Anyone else would like to stand up and address the mayor and the council? Man, we love things like that. Thank you. Thank you, and good job. Okay, let's move on to council comments. Council member, well, let's see, we got Kier here. Okay, well, let's go with Council Member Beck.
First of all, I think it's with heavy hearts that our last city council, we acknowledged and recognized a resident that had been killed up on one of the bike trails, and then today there was a funeral for lifelong resident Richard Johnson. And one of my favorite songs is from Wicked, the Broadway musical, and one of the lines in it says, "Because I knew you, I have been changed for good." And I want to thank Mayor Leifson. 4 years ago, I didn't even know who Richard was, and he had talked to the mayor, and mayor said, "Go talk to Stacy and work with her about implementing a freedom walk for our 5th grade students in the Spanish Fork and Salem area." So I've only known Richard for the last 4 years, but what an incredible man. His obituary was incredible to read and see all the service he's done throughout his entire lifetime. The only thing that I worked with him on was the Freedom Walk, which was regular meetings with principals and teachers and other members of the American Legion that helped with that, and then we served together there. And through that time, we would talk and exchange texts, and he's just a man of a heart so large. I think we can take after him. And then in 2019, him and his wife Jana Lee were the Grand Marshals for Fiesta Days, and that was fun to have them recognized for all the work and the efforts that they have done. And he was involved heavily with the American Legion Post 68, the president there, and at the memorial service every Memorial Day he was up there involved, and just a great man. I just wanted to let him know that I loved him, and thank Mayor for the opportunity I had to get to know him. He also served on our RAP Tax Committee. I mean, we could go on and on, but he will be greatly missed. I also wanted to thank Brad Tanner. He had served on our Planning and Zoning Commission for the last several years, and I believe last month or this month will be his last time that he will be serving on that, and that takes a lot of personal time, and I want to personally thank him for that. And then the Youth City Council met last week for the first time since March 12th, masks and all. They were excited to get back doing what they love to do, and that's learning about the affairs of the city and how city government works, and they're excited to get back to monthly service projects. They are still accepting applications, so if you have youth, it's ages 9th through 12th grade, Spanish Fork residents, they can attend the the junior highs or ALA, Maple Mountain, Spanish Fork High School, you can just hop online on our city website, click on the tab Government, and you'll see Youth City Council. The application's super easy to fill out, but it's a great opportunity for 60 youth in our area to learn how to work and serve together and get to know our community better. So their motto this year is lead with integrity, serve with passion, and they're a great bunch of youth. So that's all I have, Mayor.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mayor. First echo what Stacy mentioned about Mr. Johnson. What a giant of a man, and I told her earlier that 3 weeks ago I had the chance to see him, run into him and a couple of his friends up at the golf course, and he was enjoying retirement and hanging out, and boy, what an ambassador for Spanish Fork, because it took only a few minutes and he was into these guys about how great not only the golf course was, but Spanish Fork as a whole, and the video of him at the Walker Funeral Home and his obituary and everything just brought back a bunch of memories with Richard and all the good that he's done. So thoughts and prayers with the Johnson family, and a good man that will be missed for sure. Appreciate Paul bringing up the city. I had the opportunity, the beauty of the city. Last week I was in Lehigh meeting some friends that were on their way back to the West Coast from Sturgis, and so they stopped in Lehigh to stay with some family there, and the family invited us in, and as soon as they found out that we were from Spanish Fork and had driven up there to meet our friends there, they both said, well, we're looking to come to Spanish Fork. We want to come to Spanish Fork. And I said, well, I know the mayor. I got an in for you. And anyway, regardless, they just said great things about Spanish Fork, and knew from a distance up in Lehigh how great our city is. And so I was proud to be from there at that point last week. My board meetings that I've had this last week, Mayor, the League of Cities and Towns, we had our monthly board meeting yesterday, that we conducted business leading up to a virtual conference that we'll have. We have 2 conferences a year for the League, one in April and one in September. And since being the president of that organization last year, I don't know that another president can say he's canceled 2 conventions of the League. That's going to go down in history, but that's something. We're going to meet it virtually in September with all 248 cities and towns across the state of Utah that are members of the League to discuss best practices and share how we work through not only the modern day of things, but how it's happened in the past as well. The past part of the League that I did want to bring up in a public meeting was that the announcement was made of Dave Church's retirement from working with the League, which has been a long time. Kent, I'm sure you can go back way far with he's a legend, and that was brought up of his sessions during those conferences were really beneficial for everybody that was a public official that was able to learn about the legal process of governing in public office, and we brought that up to Dave and said how grateful we were, and he says, well, I don't want you to think I wasn't paid for it. I was paid for it, and everything, but just in his funny way of doing things. Publicly, again, I'd just like to thank him for the many, many years of service to local government up and down the state of Utah. He will be missed for what the mark that he's put on the state. That leads me to my next council comment, which is another retirement. This one's a little bit closer to home for sure, and closer to me as well, knowing this family for a number of years, but definitely looking to Dr. Franson as a friend, a mentor, and I know I don't stand alone in that, not in this body, but not in the city either. So it's my pleasure, my honor to have him included in my council comments tonight. He can announce his own thing. I'm not going to take that from him. I think everybody in Spanish Fork knows that the good doctor has hung it up after decades of service here. But we do have a little video that I think I sent to Tyler. Did you get that? Nick, the thought of maybe playing this and then Tracy, if you're okay with it, coming up and ad-libbing and saying a few words, if that's okay. All right.
I could greet you, I could meet you, and I could say thank you for letting me be part of your. This is a way for me to do that same thing, to say thank you for letting me be part of your life. Put my arms around you and say thanks. And it would have taken forever to get through an open house that way. So this way I can do it once, say thanks. You can all be rest assured that you'll be taken care of and that life moves on.
And what are you grateful to your patients about?
It's because the thankfulness is allowing me to be part of their life. It takes a certain amount of trust to be able to say things to a physician that you would not say out loud to anyone else. And I really am thankful that they were willing to share that we could try and find a solution to the illness, to the depression, to the children, to the marriage, to whatever the topic was that came up that we could talk about. So I think just saying thanks for being loyal to Spanish Fork and to me as a physician and to Canyon View Medical Group as a whole, to be able to say that they trust me and they trust us with their health and to be able to have their best interests at heart. I really like the feeling of Spanish Fork of people looking out for each other. One of my wife's favorite movies is It's a Wonderful Life with Jimmy Stewart, as well as Our Town by Thornton Wilder. And in both of those, you look back at what life would have been like if this person hadn't been there. And Spanish Fork has given so much to me. As I look at each individual patient or each individual friend or each individual neighbor, what would life have been like if they hadn't been there? How would I be different? What way would I not be better because they weren't there? And I think about that with my patients. Each patient interaction, that it's a one-on-one individual sacred interaction. And where would I be without that patient? I can't imagine life without all the varied interactions and experiences I've had with patients and neighbors and church members. I had a patient tell me, you can't leave because you delivered my child and now you delivered my grandchild and I want you to deliver my great-grandchild. You're just part of our family. The ability to take a patient from pre-pregnancy as a family doctor to getting that first pregnancy test positive and the smile that's on their face or the fear that's on their face as they recognize that, then follow them through that 9 months and be there at delivery. You've heard of people say, I don't have words to describe what that feeling's like, but it really is true. There's not words to describe as that head comes out, that pressure's gone, and that family lifts this little baby up. And to watch a dad cry, the whole room cry as this new baby comes in. There's just not words to explain the awe and the joy of this new baby coming in. It's just difficult to explain, and yet it's one of the most profound and special privileges to be involved in that with someone to help them bring a new life into the world. When I was in medical school, one of my mentors said, make sure that you don't make your patients a statistic, make them an individual. It's been a privilege to be able to work with people, and And certainly we weren't perfect with what we did, but my patients have been so forgiving and so understanding from moment to moment, depending on what was happening and how we took care of each other. And I hope through the 34 years I've been practicing medicine that my patients recognize that I saw them as an individual worthy of respect. Sometimes we as physicians take credit to ourselves, but my team became part of your life. Lisa was my first medical assistant, followed by Donna. With my patients as I don't go into work every day. As I contemplated retiring, I knew I wanted to have someone who could take over my practice and my patients would love and enjoy. So as we interviewed Dr. Stephen Weatherspoon, I could see that he connected with those patients. And so before we offered him a position, I called his references and they were just sterling. They complimented him as what an intelligent and smart doctor is, yet how empathetic he is and how easy he is to work with and how much they enjoyed being part of his medical practice. And so I'm comfortable that as he comes, that those same things that his references said will be the same things that my patients do, and that they won't feel abandoned, they won't feel left out. So I'm excited to have Dr. Weatherspoon come. I think he'll be a great addition to the medical community here in Spanish Fork. I would do it again. I would go to medical school again. I would participate in this ability to help people. And I think even though the face of medicine has changed so much, the relationship of one-to-one with a patient has not changed. And I think I would help someone to go into medicine again.
Well, the video there kind of says it all of what Dr. Franson's next steps are in life. But we wanted to make sure from the city as a whole that you were honored and recognized for not only your great assistance and help in the city and our residents as a whole, their health and wellness over decades. But your volunteerism in the community. Everyone knows you from seeing you at events, whether it be the Rotary Club or Boy Scouts or whatever, for your busy life, your wife and your kids and your practice. You've still made time for the important things of being a great volunteer in the community. And so for that reason, we wanted to make sure you received this honor tonight and this recognition, and the mayor has a certificate that says that, I think. So.
Right, I've got a nice certificate here for you, and you know, I'm one of those patients of Dr. Franson. He's my doctor. I guess he always will be my doctor, so if I call you up in the middle of the night, you'll still be there for me. But he's been wonderful, you know, and I just want to let him know personally, as a patient, that he's definitely looked after my health and took care of me and my family, and I really appreciate that. I want you to know that. So we got a little certificate here. It says, "Certificate of recognition is awarded to Tracy Franson for your dedicated decades of service benefiting the health and wellness of Spanish Fork citizens." Signed, Mayor Steve Leifson. So come on up here and let's present this to you. Here, I guess they want a picture here. Thank you, Doctor. You want to say a few words?
Not really. Well, thank you. I've lived here now for 34 years. When I was a youngster in Gunnison growing up, I knew about Spanish Fork because our FFA and 4-H came up to the Junior Livestock Show, and we had flyers down in our businesses for the summer theater, and little did I know I'd be marrying the director's daughter years down the road. But Spanish Fork's a great place. It's when you volunteer and help people, there's just a special feeling about volunteerism that you can't replace with money or working. And I consider my vocation a volunteer vocation in some ways because of the opportunity to be at the call of people. And then the ability to join a service club like Rotary, the Rotary Club of Spanish Fork, that their motto is service above self, has been a great joy to be able to participate with the Spanish Fork and make it better. My own personal model is if you don't do it, who will? And so I think we see that in Spanish Fork. Hey, if you don't do it, who will? And you see that at the Fiesta Days, the Chamber, so many projects that Spanish Fork does. It's just volunteers that are trying to make it a better place to live, and it's been a great place to live. Retirement doesn't mean you sit home. It's just a new chapter. So already looking ahead to our Rotary Chamber Golf Tournament got rescheduled to September 16th coming up, and we've been given the go-ahead by the city to have a shotgun start. So anyone who wants to participate, get online and sign up. So that's one project going on. I've got some personal projects that I'm looking forward to, depending if we get rid of this COVID. I've already signed up to be a volunteer for the vaccine that's come out, so I'm hoping I get it so that I can get rid of this mask and get back out and volunteer and do some of the things I'd like to do. But thank you, Spanish Fork, for all the good and the great and the opportunity to serve you.
That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Well, you did well. Mayor,
Mayor?
yeah, I'm promoting you. So, Councilman Gordon.
Thank you, Mayor. I had the pleasure of growing up and graduating with Dr. Franson's son, Paul, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I really appreciate all your service and appreciate having you in the community. The ripple effects of your service carry on for many, many decades. So thanks for that. I echo Stacy and Mike's comments about Richard Johnson. When he was the Grand Marshal last year, he pulled me aside and said, "You probably don't remember this story, but as we rode the bus from Lakeshore to town, I didn't realize I was sitting by his daughter when he was riding on the bus, because he was on the school board at the time, and his boys didn't always behave on the bus. And when he got off, I said, who's that jerk? And she says, "That's my dad." And so I guess it was sort of a funny family thing for them, and he reminded me of that and many other things. But we shared a laugh at the farmer's market just the Saturday before he passed, and near and dear to my heart and our families, and our thoughts and prayers from our family go out to the Johnson family as well. So just appreciate the service of him and his family throughout all those years. And that's all I have tonight, Mayor.
Councilman Argal.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, just to discuss the needs, this is new to me and I'm continuing to learn a lot. I've been so impressed with the board members that are on this board and the care that they have for our airport. And if you noticed, recently we are now, it's just Spanish Fork Airport. And the manager down there, Chris Childs, what an awesome person to be over our airport as our airport continues to grow. In our board meeting, they mentioned that our airport is getting so busy and we're in the midst of building some new hangars and trying to build them fast because we have all kinds of requests for people to park their airplane there. The runway is busy. We don't have, at times we've got planes landing and we don't have a place that they can tie down. So our airport is growing fast. They are starting the Bravo runway on the other side of the airport to the north of the airport. So that will open up Main Street as businesses come and want to be a part of that airport and be able to serve and participate in that. We also have another, this Centerline Aviation flight that we discussed. It's on the agenda tonight. It's another flight school that's coming there amongst the other ones that are there. Our airport is turning into awesome. Chris wanted me to express the thanks to all of the departments in Spanish Fork. As he has gone forward, he is so grateful for the support that he has. He says it doesn't matter what I ask or just seek out. He says somebody comes and takes care of it. And the part of being, now he's under with our streets department with Jamie, he's under kind of that 5 to 8 year plan to make sure that the asphalt around the airport is well taken care of and that our runway is in good shape. And so he wanted me to express his thanks to each one of the departments, and not just the streets, but the electrical and SFCN and our IT department have been great to help him. We served a breakfast down there. There was quite a few attended. We're looking forward to, it used to be called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. This year it'll be called Wings and Wheels. And we will be going forward with that celebration. It'll be somewhat because of the situation that we're in. But there are going to be some unique things there, some very unique automobiles are going to be there, and some other planes that we'll have an opportunity to see. You'll need to buy your tickets online so that you can be able to attend that. And we always give those helicopter rides that those kids love to take and get. So if you're wanting to plan that, get online and get those tickets. Also, just want to make a little shout out. I hope if you're traveling around this city that you're driving around past our All Abilities Park. If you miss a day or two, you notice how fast Westland Construction is working hard to get this up. We have dates now. We will have a grand opening September 12th. Okay. September 12th. Westland Construction has given us the okie dokie that we can set that date, and we'll be looking forward to it. If you've noticed, the tree house, which is the center attraction, has been going up pretty quick, along with everything else. It's exciting to drive by that and watch that. We are excited for this park to open up. It has been something that we've done amidst everything that's been going on, and then we've managed to get it completed, and we're going to have a grand opening for our city, and this is going to be something that's going to serve our city for a long, long time. And I think the residents the residents of this community, when they get an opportunity to see the amenities in the park, they're going to be so impressed. Even I was impressed with the walk around and the ability to serve every single citizen in our community. And I'm so excited about the opening of this park. We are going at our grand opening. We're going to have this park's going to have a name, and it's got a bell over the main pavilion that you'll be able to rent and take your family there, and the bell's going to be able to only be rung by the mayor, right, Dale? So it's going to look a lot like Spanish Fork's logo, and so we're excited about this. Take a minute and drive by that, and we'll be excited for the grand opening of the All Abilities Park. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, as you've noticed, we've got a space opened here. Councilman Scobes is away, but also here zoomed in. He's on some military training. Can you hear me? Have you got any council comments?
Tell Dr. Franson, again, congratulations. Appreciate his service. He'll be missed. But again, as he mentioned, it's just a stepping stone, new adventure. So we look forward to more associations with him. And also echo the comments made about Richard Johnson. He's a great member of the Veterans Council and quite the pillar in the community. The only thing I have to report, Mayor, is the animal shelter is down 4 employees due to COVID. 2 of them they have family members that have some type of symptoms, and so they're in quarantine staying away, and then 2 others are showing symptoms themselves, so they're also out. The animal shelter is taking appointments for adoptions, but that may be limited depending on how things progress. But just so that everyone's aware, they are down in employees, but are still working by appointment only. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Appreciate you being here. A few things I just want to mention. Stacy talked about the youth council. I had the opportunity to meet with the mayor and the pro tem mayor last week. Isaac Smith is the youth council mayor, and Howard Crawford is the pro tem mayor. And what 2 fine individuals, I'll tell you. We're in good hands here in the city if we got people like that serving on our youth council and wanting to give of their time while they're in high school when there's so much going on. So it's really great to see that they want to serve their community and do that. So we're looking forward to their whole year this year and what the council's going to do and what service projects they're going to present. Also, I wanted to mention that the farmers market is up and running, has been for the last couple of weeks. That goes from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. We went down there and got some great corn, and I think, oh yeah, that had been from the Gordon farm, and some vegetables and all that. What a great opportunity for the citizens to go down and support those individuals who come down and sell their wares there, and we appreciate the chamber putting that on, and if you haven't been, come down. It's great. Every Saturday from 8 till 1. And then my final comments is about Richard Johnson. I've known Richard my whole life. My dad nicknamed him the Tooth Fairy because he was a dentist, and my dad had nicknames for everybody. And so I've dealt with Richard for a lot of times. We were in the same ward. We served together in some callings together, and what a great individual he is. And he was always knocking on my door and said, "Hey, Mayor, we've got some things we need to do." You know, and just like with the Freedom Walk, he was always coming up with some of the things that we ought to do here in the city. And just about 2 weeks ago, I ran across him at the trail, and he said, "Hey, I've got this idea. We need to do this for the prisoner of wars, to celebrate them and to honor them." And so that's going forth. So what a great individual, always thinking of the city, ways to serve the city, and he will be greatly missed. What a great individual. And like I say, our prayers and our thoughts go out to the family. Okay, let's move along here. Let's go to Spanish Fork 101, SWUA, History of SUP.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me and Strawberry Water Users Association to be on the agenda for a few moments with you this evening. First, I just wanted to say what a treat it is to be a part of local public meetings and politics. What a vast difference it is compared to what we see on the national scene, and the feeling, the demeanor. I join with Paul, someone I've never met before. What a great community to be a part of. I'm the general manager of the Strawberry Water Users Association. Next slide, please. And my purpose in being with you for a few minutes tonight is strictly informational, not looking to ask or beg of anything, just wanting to pass along some information. This is a picture. I know you can't see it very well, but this is a picture taken in 1915, the Monk family harvesting their sugar beets here in Spanish Fork. And back in the mid-1850s, let me back up. I was going to mention Council Member Mike Mendenhall. I don't think I've ever met you, but I know your father. Worked with your father a fair number of years, and as we go through these slides and pictures, I'm sure you'll be at home, as I'm sure you've spent many years probably in a pickup truck touring along these sites. Maybe others have on the council. The mid-1850s, those early pioneers that established themselves, their families, their farms and businesses here in South Utah County, it didn't take long, as you folks know, that the water supply was in limited supply. That Spanish Fork River was a mighty good river, and still is today, of course, but it just didn't meet the water demands as more and more farmers came to this valley. And they began to realize as more farmers came and needed to establish a crop and the need for water, that they needed to get creative in finding another water source. And so in 1900, Utah State Senator Henry Gardner and John Lewis went on a little field trip up to the Strawberry Valley, now as we know is the Strawberry Reservoir, and set up camp for a few days, 2 nights, 3 days, and explored around. And they dreamed and they visioned, and they, in their dream, so to speak, they could see a dam over there that established the Strawberry Reservoir. And they further dreamed and they thought, gee, if we can create a body of water here and drill a tunnel through this mountain from the Uinta Basin drainage, that of course drains into the Colorado River, and route some of that water from the newly created Strawberry Reservoir through a near 4-mile tunnel into the Great Basin drainage, of course, that we live in today, bring it down the Diamond Fork system into the Spanish Fork River. Now we have an added source of water to keep agriculture alive in this growing valley. And so in 1900, those senators had that dream and that vision. In 1902, they filed for a Strawberry Reservoir permit and a Spanish Fork River power plant. And in 1903 and 04, they petitioned the U.S. government for $3.5 million to build the Strawberry Valley Project, which included that Strawberry Reservoir dam, the tunnel, the power system to meet those demands. Next slide, please. So here's a couple pictures of that 3.8-mile tunnel that they bore. Starting on the west and starting on the east, they met somewhere in the middle of that canal, I'm told 6 inches. They were off 6 inches when they met each other somewhere in that canal. In 1905, the U.S. government approved that $3.5 million for construction. In 1908, the original Spanish Fork Diversion Dam was completed. You go up Highway 6 a mile or so from the windmills, you've noticed that diversion dam in the river. In 1908, the original diversion was completed. 1909, the Spanish Fork Upper Power Plant was completed. I know all of you have driven Powerhouse Road, and you've driven through those cottonwood trees just past the golf course. On your left, going south, on your left is the upper power plant. On your right, if you know where to look, you can see a little old building, the lower power plant. Those 3 generators, then and today, were and are essential to local power generation. 1911, Strawberry Reservoir Dam was completed, the original dam. The dam that you see today is not the original. In 1999, they took down the original, built the new one. The original backed up about 250,000 acre-feet of water. Today, that Strawberry Reservoir is about 1.5 million acre-feet of water. And then in 1912, that 3.8-mile diversion tunnel, those pictures there, were completed, moving Uinta Basin water to the Great Basin. Next slide, please. Here's a picture of the Highline Canal. As you come to the mouth of the Spanish Fork Canyon, where that diversion structure is, just by the windmills, therein lies a junction. The Highline Canal diverts some of that water to the south through this canal system, roughly 20 miles, or up and around West Mountain eventually. And then there's another diversion that takes it north, the Mapleton-Springville Canal, or now pipeline. And then there's a number of headgates, 7 more headgates that take that Strawberry Valley Project water and scatter it across this southern Utah County through various canal companies. In 1913, as you see there on the slide, the first Strawberry Valley Project water arrived. 1916, the Highline Canal System was created. 1917, the Springville Mapleton. In 1922, the company I now work for, the Strawberry Water Users Association, was created to manage the system. All of these facilities are federally owned and managed through the Bureau of Reclamation, but by contract, the Strawberry Water Users Association mission is threefold, and in fine print you can see that. Number one, to repay the debt. That $3.5 million was a loan. And the farmers and ranchers, in some cases, mortgaged their farms to make the monthly and annual payment to pay for that Strawberry Valley Project. And in 1974, I'm happy to report, as some of you may know, some of your family members, maybe some of you, helped pay off some of that debt. But in 1974, that $3.5 million was paid off. Our second obligation is the operation, maintenance, and repair of these structures. And third is to deliver the water to those headgates. Next slide, please. 1956, Central Utah, you've heard of them. Project was authorized through the Bonneville unit to expand and replace many of the features of the Strawberry Valley Project, one of them being that Strawberry Reservoir Dam, tearing down the original, rebuilding the new, creating greater water supply. 1974, I mentioned the debt. In 1991, the expansion of the reservoir. Next slide, please. So here's a map, and I know you're sitting too far away to see the print, but here's Utah Lake, here's Strawberry Reservoir, here's Duchesne. And right here is a green line, which is that water divide. Over here is the Uinta Basin drainage, over here is the Great Salt Lake drainage. And so there's the dam of the Strawberry Reservoir, and right on the west side of the lake is that tunnel. You can't see it, but there's some hash marks right there. That's a 3.8 mile tunnel through that green line, bringing that precious, good quality, reliable water resource over to this drainage, down the Diamond Fork, down the Spanish Fork River, to the mouth of the canyon, to 9 head gates to help meet the growing agriculture supply. And I should mention, by contract, that Strawberry Valley Project water, every bit of it, is by contract to be used for agriculture. Now, as we see this valley develop, of course, one of the tasks and challenges that we have is how are we going to convert that strawberry water by contract use for agriculture to municipal and industrial use. That's a challenge. And Chris and I have had some of those discussions, and of course others. Next slide, please. Today, the Strawberry Water Users Association and the Strawberry Reservoir System provides irrigation water to approximately 4,500 shareholders, which accounts to 70,000 shares, and irrigates approximately 40,000 acres. Now remember, 1 acre foot of water, and a football field is roughly an acre. You put 12 inches of water on a football field, that's an acre foot, or approximately 1 share of water. Next slide. I think this is the culminating slide, I believe. I believe Utah is the fastest growing county in the state, or certainly 1 or 2, I would think. So you overlay these numbers on top of the fastest growing county in the state of Utah. In 2019, Utah County ranked number 1 in all of Utah for total agriculture cash receipts. Livestock, 131 million, crops, 80 million, for a total of $212 million. And there's 2,500 farms in Utah County. I mean, that's a staggering phenomenon. Fastest growing county, largest agriculture county. You know, oftentimes those are two conflicts, and of course there is on occasion. But how can we keep those two realities alive and well in Utah County, and particularly in southern Utah County, where the vast majority of that agriculture is, of course. Next slide. As I said earlier, this Strawberry Valley Project water by contract is attached to the land. You can't move the water off the land. And so therein lies some challenges, and I appreciate my interaction with Chris Thompson and some of his staff of how we deal with these challenges of water that's attached, as well as the growing population growth that we see. Next slide. I think this is my final slide. You can't read those names, but there's our 15-member board of directors, and you'll see 5 or 6 of them represent Spanish Fork City. You'll recognize some of those names, I'm sure. But I end with this thought, boy, as Chris Thompson and his staff and all of you council members, as you wrestle with the challenges of growth, even a tsunami-like population growth that's coming. Count Strawberry Water Users Association as a partner with you in helping to meet those challenges, particularly water. We bring some perspective and some insight, hopefully some horsepower to help meet those challenges and bring some solutions. So, Mayor and Council, thank you for your time.
Thank you. I sure appreciate that education. That's always good to know, and we appreciate the service that you're doing there. And watch out for a few of those board members, you know. I know their background, so that's cool. Thank you.
Mayor, now you've seen what the Mendenhall family home evenings were growing up for 20 years.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sterling. Great work.
I've driven by those cotton trees and stopped in and seen a few of the Mendenhalls that lived right there. So that's good. All right, let's move on to consent items.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, we're going to move into some public hearings. Ordinance Z06-20, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork City for the fast gas zone change.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You can see on that image that we have up there, the property that we're talking about. It's shaded there with yellow immediately west of the fast gas. Fast gas, as planned, will be expanding onto that site, and before they can do that and start construction there, the zoning needs to be changed from the current residential zoning to commercial. So that's the long and short of the proposal, is to make that change. Both the Development Review Committee and Planning Commission have recommended that this be approved. There is a letter that we attached to the staff report that we received from some neighbors that expressed some concern about the change. I can't speak to our ability to necessarily address all of the concerns that they raised in that letter, but several of them I think will be as we review the site plan for the proposed expansion, and we'll certainly work to be as considerate as we can, you know, relative to those concerns as we go through that process.
All right, this is a public hearing, so I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing. So moved. Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right, we're in public hearing. Anyone that would like to come and address the mayor and the council on this, you're sure welcome to come up and address us. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to go out of public hearing. Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any questions, comments on this? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
06-20, changing the zoning designation and amending the official zoning map of Spanish Fork City for the fast gas zone change.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. This is a roll call vote. Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Councilman Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scopes. That's the way to speak up. Okay, that passes. Ordinance 10-20, amending the Title 15, Chapter 3 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code relating to eligible properties for accessory apartments.
It was in June of 2019, so just a little bit over a year ago, or we could say we're kind of in the first part of year 2, after having made some changes to our program for reviewing applications for accessory apartments. And I just want to touch on a couple of things before we get to the main part of this particular proposal. So the text there's a little bit hard to read, but frankly I think this is all germane to the request that's before you tonight. Since that time, just 14 months ago, we've had 35 people apply to have accessory apartments approved by the city. Of those 35, we've issued permits now to 10 applicants. We've denied 2, so that means I think that we have some 18 or so that are in the process still, hopefully on their way to being approved. 35, honestly, that I think is pretty dismal, really. It certainly hasn't been taxing like maybe we were a little bit concerned that it would be to deal with the applications that we've received and the subsequent workload that would come with that, with inspections and that type of a thing. That's with some other changes that were made just recently. You remember that we further expanded upon what was done last year by allowing for accessory apartments in some additional zoning districts. We made what also I would think might be a fairly significant change in terms of allowing accessory apartments in detached structures on properties. But even with that, we really haven't seen all that substantial of a set of applications that have come our way. Really, the response has not been certainly overwhelming by the community. We'd love to see that change. We don't know what the exact number is, certainly, of accessory apartments that exist in Spanish Fork today, but it's well above 35. And we know that just given the current market situation relative to housing in our part of the world, that there's a considerable demand for housing that currently is going unmet. And we felt that allowing more broadly for accessory apartments and making it possible for people that have existing accessory apartments that maybe never had been through any type of an inspection process or that type of a thing, we had felt that being more accommodating in those different ways hopefully would simply raise the level of the type of housing that exists in Spanish Fork and increase the number of housing opportunities that exist in the community as well. So changes like what this particular applicant's requesting tonight, I think we probably as staff will continue to entertain as we try to be as accommodating as we can to make it so that people can maybe have existing situations recognized by the city as being legal, and also to be as permissive as possible in terms of letting people create new accessory apartments in a legal fashion. So that all being said, this particular proposal comes to you by way of an applicant that has a situation where their property, and maybe Mr. Porter, if you can just go to the next slide. These are some highlights that we have. I'm not sure how legible that is. Not all that legible for me, but those are some of the key criteria that have to be met. This is just taken from our website in order for people to have a property that qualifies for a legal accessory dwelling unit. That 8,000 square foot minimum lot size, that's kind of an interesting one. I know the origin of that, And from that, I can say that that number wasn't arrived at in a completely arbitrary fashion, but yet it pretty much was, really. I don't think there's anything magic necessarily about 8,000 square feet as being the minimum. The proposal that's before you right now would have that reduced down to 7,500 square feet. Both the Development Review Committee and the Planning Commission have reviewed that, and they've recommended that it be approved. I think this is an important step to take, not only to accommodate this particular applicant, but others that fall currently just shy of having 8,000 square feet of lot size, therefore being just right out of the chute ineligible for having a legal accessory apartment. The proposal is to change that 8,000 square feet to 7,500 square feet. I think that's a great step. Also, and this is something that we discussed with the Planning Commission, I think that's something that probably warrants some additional study. I don't know what that right number is exactly, but over the course of the next several weeks, maybe in the next couple of months, there are some things that I think that we can do as staff to maybe just put a couple of examples together, maybe some real, maybe some fictitious, about properties and how they're configured and where a home's located on a lot and that type of a thing, to try to see if maybe even makes some sense to consider something less than 7,500 square feet. So that all being said, certainly part of the background that I shared is with the explanation that, at least from staff's perspective, I think we'll continue with this sort of a process to where when somebody comes to us as staff with property where they'd like to have an accessory apartment and they may fail to meet some of the criteria that we have in place, we of course are always vetting that and looking at it, and if situations come up where we think it makes some sense to have that dialogue then with the Planning Commission and you, we'll do that. And it's entirely in the spirit of let's make it as possible as we can, pragmatically, without doing something that's going to really have any impact on the neighborhood and change that character. Also, for all of the other reasons that I described. So I guess that's my presentation on this. I'd be happy to answer any questions anybody has. Okay, thanks.
Public hearing. All right, this is a public hearing, so I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone that'd like to come up and address the mayor and the council on this issue, feel free to come on up. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing. Got a motion by Councilman Argal, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, any questions or comments on this?
Just one comment that I probably should have made my council comments of dealing with the League of Cities and Towns. You will see, as a state, the legislature call themselves into special session this week, or the governor call them in, and just to tee that up, the special session is for COVID-related things, but as you start to look at the bill files that are open, nearly half of the bill files, Seth can attest to this, deal with land use and the state's ability to make land use decisions that sometimes usurp or are in conflict with local land use decisions, which I believe get a better product from us and our residents' interaction and getting that right. So I think this is a step doing that for all the reasons that Dave mentioned there, and I appreciate the DRC and the Planning Commission taking good looks at this, because again, I'm not advocating us making decisions based on fear of somebody else making it for us or anything like that. Simply, I think it's good public policy when we can make common sense decisions like this that deal with land use, rather than sometimes those being used against us at a state level of why we shouldn't make those decisions locally. So just a heads up, that's what we're dealing with as a city and as staff all the time on land use decisions, and and this is particularly one of them, which I think is a good result for our city to make ADUs that much more accessible for some starter housing in our community to build off of. So,
Anyone else? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve Ordinance 1020, amending Title 15, Chapter 3 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code related to eligible properties for accessory apartments.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall.
Second.
Second by Councilman Gordon. This also will be a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Scholes. Aye. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
And that passes. All right, ordinance 11-20, amending Title 15, Chapter 3 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code relating to eligible areas for self-storage overlays.
Right now, storage units are allowed in the Industrial 1 zone on a very limited basis. We have some geographical restrictions that limit where people can have storage units. One of the limits involves a corridor that follows Interstate 15. And this proposal would provide an exception to that particular limit, and that it would allow a particular property that's adjacent to the site that's been identified as the future location of a new wastewater treatment plant to be eligible for that self-storage overlay. I guess to be as succinct as I can, the property owner of this property that's just south of the site where the wastewater treatment plant will be is on the south side of the railroad tracks that you might be able to identify running diagonally there in that image. On the east side of 2nd East, between 2nd East and I-15, and as somebody's pointing out there with a laser pointer, that's the property that we're talking about. Previously, a project was approved there currently approved, I guess, even for office warehouse types of buildings, much like what's already been built on the site adjacent to 2nd East. And the property owner expressed some concern about the perception of being located right next to that particular facility, and concern about being able to lease the spaces that otherwise I think he'd be moving forward to construct there. For a variety of different reasons, I think we as staff en masse are comfortable with that proposal, and think that in fact probably storage units there will make for at least as good of, if not a better neighbor than maybe the types of small businesses and things that otherwise we'd see in the project that previously had been planned for that site. So this is unique. Oftentimes we don't deal with text amendments that really zero in on one particular property by intent. That's what's happening here, at least with what's proposed. Like with the other items that I presented on, both the Development Review Committee and the Planning Commission have recommended that this be approved.
Since it's a public hearing, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone that'd like to talk to us about this ordinance, you're sure welcome. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to go out of public hearing. Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any discussions, thoughts on this?
Just a quick, so Dave, so are you talking about this property right here?
Yeah, the way the amendment reads, it's properties that are adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant site. So it's that property, yes. Just to the south of that site.
Okay, so Oakleberries has built 2 more of these units here.
They have, yes.
is this a road that's going to access? The reason I'm asking this is pretty limited right here. I don't know how you're going to, if it's Oakleberries that's building them, how is he going to access them?
I think probably in two different ways. You identified the current drive that's been constructed to access the part of the project that's already been built. So I think that will provide one route to the development that'll kind of be on the eastern side of the property. They're closer to I-15, but also the plan is to have a joint access to access both the wastewater treatment plant site and this development, both the office warehouse part and the storage unit part at that location. I think we're doing some design work with the applicant there to create, basically one driveway or one road that would serve both developments there, or both uses there.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Anyone else? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve ordinance number 11-20, amending the Title 15, Chapter 3 of the Spanish Fork Municipal Code related to eligible areas for self-storage overlay.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilmember Mendenhall. This is also a roll call vote. Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
That passes. Ordinance 12-20, amending the growth boundary of the general plan map of Spanish Fork City.
We have spent very little time talking about this over the years. Just maybe to give a little bit of background, there is a boundary out there, lines on maps, that identifies the properties that you of the council, as the council or previous councils have said, includes the property that at some point in the future Spanish Fork City will annex. We call it our annexation policy boundary or policy boundary. It goes beyond the current city boundary. Again, it accounts for our plans for future growth, and it's been in place for 30 or so years now, I believe. That's the policy boundary. Now, within the policy boundary, Spanish Fork is a little bit unique in that about 20 or 25 years ago, the city created a growth boundary. And I mean that. There aren't many communities in Utah that have such a thing. The growth boundary is not the same as the policy boundary, and they don't match, and I don't think probably would match until the city's built out, and when that happens, there's probably not much need for either of them. But specifically, the growth boundary is intended to give you, as the city council, the governing body, an opportunity to direct growth geographically into certain parts of the community. In short, properties that are located outside of the growth boundary, even though they might be in Spanish Fork, just per direction that we have in the general plan, should not be considered for development proposals. The idea is that properties that are not located within the growth boundary currently would either place an undue burden on the city to provide services to, or otherwise the city simply can't provide services to, or for whatever other reason. Again, a council has decided that particular area currently is not ready for development. We are running out of land that currently is within the city's growth boundary. That's why we're here, at least in part, to talk about this particular area. If maybe somebody can help me out again with a mouse. The area in yellow there that we're talking about, that's perfect. It's bounded on the south by US Highway 6, and on either we could say the north or the east by the railroad tracks and Highway 89. It's just on the other side of the tracks, the road that separates us and Mapleton. So kind of that obviously triangular shaped area. that goes all the way down to the junction of those two roads. That currently is not in the city's growth boundary. Some of the properties in that area have been annexed. Quite a large part of them still haven't been annexed. But for a variety of reasons, the biggest one being that currently there are some very substantial plans in the works to provide infrastructure to this part of the community, which in our view as staff really make it ripe and ready for development. You know as well that we've talked about some fairly specific plans to have certain properties in the area developed. There have been some changes made to zoning, for example, this past year in anticipation of that and really in preparation for that. So as staff, we believe this is the right time to simply take the growth boundary out really to match the annexation policy boundary in this part of the community, sending a signal, to the world that this is, in the city's view, the appropriate time to make plans for the development of the area and to set the stage for, having specific development proposals approved. Once again, this has been reviewed by the Development Review Committee and the Planning Commission. They recommended that it be approved, and I'm happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Okay, we might, again.
Okay.
All right, this is another public hearing. I'd entertain a motion, go into public hearing. So moved. Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone that would like to address this issue, you're sure welcome to come up. Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilman Argal, a second by Councilman Gordon. Any questions or comments about this one? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we approve ordinance number 12-20, an ordinance amending the growth boundary of the general plan map of Spanish Fork City.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Argal. This also is a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck. Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
That passes. Okay, let's go to new business. Resolution 20-21, consideration for adoption of resolution of Spanish Fork City authorizing the use and sell not more than 14 million aggregate principal amount water revenue bonds and related matters.
I guess I'll start the introduction of it. There are some water projects. Chris will talk about those projects. So the bond issues that we're starting the wheels in process is for water. The city currently has under $3 million in water bonds right now. They're in a low interest rate for issued back in 2011 and 12, I think. And this is a parameters resolution. This resolution sets the parameters to not to exceed a certain amount, interest rate, and for the term of the bonds. In contrast, Jonathan talked a little about how this parameters resolution differs a little bit from the sewer parameters resolution that we did a couple months ago. There is a little bit difference on this one. And so I'll have Jonathan tell us a little bit about that. But inside this resolution that gets adopted, it sets parameters of amount, rate, not to exceed, term is 21 years, not to exceed that. And it also authorizes us to set a public hearing for the public to be able to give comment of this on when we can advertise that. We'll advertise it 2 times in the newspaper, 14 days prior to the hearing. So that establishes that protocol for the public to have their opportunity to give comment also. So I'll have Jonathan talk a little bit about the bonds, and then Chris will talk a little bit about the projects.
Thanks, Ken. Mayor and Council, this resolution, my name is Jonathan Ward with Zions Public Finance. Nice to be here with you. nice to get out of the house every once in a while. This resolution is a more basic form of the resolution that we approved for the sewer bonds. That resolution authorized the issuance of bonds, authorized the method of advertising the sale of those bonds, in addition to the parameters that Kent outlined. So in this particular case, we're stripping out some of those components. We're doing the basic or the bare bones parameters resolution, calling for the public hearing as he indicated, which is scheduled for September 15th. At that time, we'll come back to the City Council meeting, hold the hearing. Subject to the comments heard at that hearing, we'll have available for you what's called an authorizing resolution, which will authorize the sale of the bonds and the documentation necessary to do so, the official statement and other legal documents. So that's our plan. We did that because we were not going to be able to complete the offering statement that we need to have in conjunction with the resolution where we authorize that available for tonight. So this gets our process underway and calls for the public hearing and allows us to move forward and march down that path. As far as the bonds go, water revenue bonds as opposed to sewer revenue bonds, because the funds, the revenues in the water fund would be subject to collateral or posted as collateral or security for the bondholders. The expectation is that we'll have a very solid bond rating with these revenues. The city has prepared itself over the years and geared up for this because it's a smaller bond issue. It's anticipated to be absorbed, if you will, with minimal rate increases, user rate increases, if at all, and that's going to look really good for the rating agencies and bond investors who are evaluating the credit. I'm afraid to tell you sort of what we're expecting in terms of interest rates, because I'm afraid that they'll just go up. You know, for right now we're estimating about a 1.6% true interest cost. We call that sort of the average or blended average time value of money and present value rate. It's a very, very good time to borrow if you have to borrow. We don't cross our fingers that it stays that way. We are at record lows. So odds are that rates go up rather than they go down if you look at the last 30 years, but we're moving down this path and anticipate we'll have a pretty good bond sale and we'll have pretty good interest rates. That's all I have for the bonds, and I'm happy to introduce or answer any questions that you have regarding the bonds or the process, amounts, etc.
It's his birthday tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday, Mayor. I should
Is
have
that
brought you
what,
some.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ask your
Yeah,
question
I should have
for
brought
you, Mayor.
some.
Is that?
They have been quarantined, though, actually, for about 5 months now. We've got quarantined chocolate-covered nuts. One of these days we will break them out.
You can pretty much use that excuse for anything, Jonathan.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Good work, bud.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm really tired of that excuse. The COVID-19's slowed down construction and delivery of all kinds of things, so we'll be glad when that is over. One of the things that we've talked about these projects quite a bit, but just a brief overview of the projects that would be paid for with this bond is replacing 2 tanks, a 2 million and a 1 million gallon tank, with one big 3 million gallon tank, and then lining an aged trunk line that comes down the canyon so that it can be used in our drinking water system, and then running a trunk line in the southwest part of town, as well as replacing a bunch of aging water lines in the blocks area that are small. Some of them are made out of transite pipe and some other things that we want to get replaced. This makes it possible. These projects are very critical and have to be done, and through this bond, we can do it without any anticipated rate increase, whereas without the bond, we would have to raise rates. And so This is a great time to bond. I remember when we did the pressurized irrigation system, one of the things that we were championing with doing the pressurized irrigation system when we did is that interest rates were the lowest they had been in 30 years, and it was about 3.5%. And we were so excited to pay 3.5%, and now we're less than half of that. And so what a great opportunity we have to do the bond at this time. And then with the outstanding bonds that Ken was talking about, most all of the outstanding bond money will be paid off next year. And so this would simply kind of come in and replace that. But it's a very sound way to keep rates from having to go up and then down, up and then down. And it's also a good way to have the people that benefit from the project actually pay for the project. So any questions about that?
One of the big reasons that we went forward with this was the interest rate. He mentioned 1.6, and that's what we got on the other one. But you have a 5.5 here, not to exceed.
Yeah. So whenever you do these notices, you kind of cast a wide net and say, okay, 5.5 or below on the interest rate. Our projects total about $11.5 million is what our initial estimates are. And so you say $14 million or less, and then that gives authorization to approach the bond. The main reason we're doing this is not so much the interest rate, although that is a wonderful aspect. But the main reason we're doing this is so we don't have to raise water rates for the residents of Spanish Fork significantly, because these projects are all critical projects. We can't just not do these projects, and without the bond, we would have to raise rates quite a bit.
So we're expecting a low interest rate, right, Zions?
That's correct.
Okay.
Just a comment on the 5% is because it's a buyer's bond market. So if we sell them at a higher interest rate, they pay a premium, and that way we get the true interest rate will be less. The coupon rate on the things might be 4, they might be 3.
Right.
For the sewer bonds, some of them were up that way. We garnered an extra $10 million in sewer bonds because we've sold them at a premium. So this will allow us also, if the market is a premium market, then we can sell them and have extra money and we'll issue less bonds, but gathered up in the premium. And so that's why the interest rate is at 5.5.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, then I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve Resolution 2021, consideration for adoption of a resolution of Spanish Fork City, Utah, authorizing the issuance and sale of not more than $14 million aggregate principal amount of water revenue bonds and related matters.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Argyle.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. That passes. Proposed rate increase for the Spanish Fork Gun Club.
Mayor and Council, John, I can't believe college football uses code for an excuse either. I'm a big college football fan, so I know there's a lot of depression going on right now this time of season. Huh, Kelly?
Kelly's going to be a BYU fan this fall.
Yeah, he's going to have to be this. Yeah. He may at least consider. There's nobody else to cheer for. I'll just handle both of these rate increases together. Under normal circumstances, we usually handle these rate increases with the budget process. Our first budget revision will be sometime in October, and we had a need to be able to have these rate increases prior to that date. The gun club, we're proposing, we haven't increased rates up there for 8 years. So in order to keep up with the market, as I mentioned in my staff report, and those other surrounding gun clubs, we've done research on those, and so we're proposing to to do a minimal increase on those fees. Single membership to $25 a year, family membership would be $50 a year, $6.50 per 25 targets for non-members, $5.50 per 25 targets for members, and then the members can purchase a practice card for $50 for 10 rounds. So that's our proposed increase. That's an increase of like 50 cents. You've got those before you there with the, I think it's $5 on our membership fee. Any questions on that one? It's pretty straightforward. The other one is on the Wings and Wheels event that Councilman Argyle mentioned, which will be, by the way, on September 26th. And Chris Childs and his committee and our special events committee has done an outstanding job and their plan is to recruit bigger and better acts. If you've been down there, it's a pretty popular event. We are limited this year due to COVID restrictions on how many people we can let in. I'm going to give you the price increases, and you guys, I mentioned this to you 2 weeks ago, so the council has seen this and basically verbally approved it then. But it's going to be $12 per person for tickets that are bought in advance, $15 per person at the gate. 6 years and under will be free. And let me just caution those who may be listening that there probably will not be any tickets at the gate. So if you're interested in getting those tickets, you're going to want to purchase them online, because we're going to have to limit. We're probably going to be limited to 1,000 people in the facility at any given time. So I know it's a really popular event. I think last year we probably had close to 4,000 people attend this event. So we apologize. The circumstances are what they are, but they're going to put on a quality show. So watch for that online, and make sure you get your tickets ahead of time if you're interested in that event. Any?
A lot of events, so people can watch
Yes,
it on.
absolutely.
Online.
Yep, SFCN will be there filming what they can film as well to help make that available to those who can't get in. Tape delay, I'm assuming.
That we approve the proposed rate increase for the Spanish Fort Gun Club.
Got a motion by Councilman Beck, a second by Councilman Gordon, or Argyle, excuse me. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, you said the gun club, right?
Yes.
All right. Then I need a proposal on the Wings and Wheels event.
Motion to approve the proposed rate increase for public access to the Spanish Fork Airport Wings and Wheels event.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Discussion, dark sky in Main Street, street lighting options. Oh, you sit through that whole thing and now you get to talk.
We were asked to look at some options for new developments and possibly replacement as light fixtures go bad throughout town with some dark sky compliant options. So Britt Sperry and Jake Tyre were given the task to do a little research on it. So they've kind of prepared a slide for you to review some options. And then we have a development just south of here where we've actually put some of these fixtures up that we would like to invite you after the council meeting to come out with us and look at them and get your opinion of them on how they look in the subdivisions and how you would like us to move forward with dark sky lighting in the city. So we'll turn the time over to Jake and Britt.
Thank you, and actually Britt did a lot of this legwork for you, so just to give you a little history, the first slide will show you what our current standard is for lighting. First slide. So this is our decorative head and pole we put out everywhere right now as of developments, and We also put out on Main Street, we have some also, but this is kind of our light standard right now. You can kind of see the costs, the lead times. It's a good looking fixture, and one bad thing about it is not dark sky compliant. Okay, it's has a lens, therefore it reflects light in all directions, right? If it's going to be a true dark sky compliant fixture, it needs to have no lens and have a rating basically less light output. Does that make sense? And so our current light does not meet those. So like Kelly said, we put up a few styles for you guys to look at. This first option is the Cobra Head style. They're pretty inexpensive, but they do not fit our standard pole we have right now. We had to have a arm manufactured to get this head to fit it. It is, you can get them pretty quick. The lead times are pretty quick, and I think this was probably our least favorite of the dark sky, but it is an option down there, and we have two set up down there. These are adjustable, and one I think is set at 8 and one is set at 6, so if you can kind of see kind of a difference between them. The next option is just from a distributor we get lights from, and he gave us one of these to put up. It is a true dark sky fixture. The lead times are pretty fast. They will stock them for us. They are dark sky compliant and they're adjustable. We also did put 2 of these down there in the subdivision. One is set at an 8 and one is set at a 6, and I think you'll be able to tell once you get down there. This is just off from our current one. It's a little different style, as you can see, but they did offer up another option that's kind of closer, which is this next slide. It's basically the same thing, but they could not give us one so that we could hang, because they would make us this on order. So just so you know that there is an alternative with a little different styling, but basically the same fixture. The last option that we've got down there is this one. Lead times are very similar to the rest of them. This is a true dark sky compliant fixture. It is adjustable, so you can adjust it anywhere from 10 to 0, basically, anywhere in between there. So you can adjust the amount of light you want and where. And this, we feel like, is our closest match to what we have now, that we could go out and say if we needed to replace one that went bad that wasn't, this would be a closest match. And the good thing about this one is it's very close to the same price we're paying now, but it is a true dark sky fixture. It makes the light go downward. And so I think the next slide is kind of the location of these heads. So when you go down there on South Lane, the 2 Cobra heads are the first ones you're going to come to. As you enter the subdivision, they'll hit our 2 current standard lights we have up. And then as you turn left, I don't know what that road is, but the first one you come to on your right would be option number 2, the last one we talked about. And then as you go around the corner, those are the other 2 options. As far as I go, I think as far as staff, the recommendation would be option number 2. For cost, warranty, the warranty on this is 10 years. Our current warranty is 5 on the head we have now. And I think, as you know, not only citizens and staff are kind of pushing for this, but even the industry is kind of going towards this dark sky compliant. So do you guys at this time have any questions for me or Brett?
How easy is the adjustment of the light once it's installed?
It's pretty easy. It's just a dial knob, basically. You have to go up in the head and you can adjust it there, And it would probably be, you can adjust it to certain areas to what you want it, or, depending on corners you might want brighter during the blocks, or, you know, you can adjust it to what you want, which is a good thing, you know. And the less you dial it down, the less power it uses, so.
And
These fit on our existing poles.
Yes, so we don't have to change anything about the pole. They'll fit our
Just the
existing
head.
poles.
so arguably, if you were to down them through the summer months and/or firefly season, and then you could even give more light throughout the winter, the daylight savings times when it's darker earlier, is that
Yeah,
a
we
thought
did.
that's been discussed?
Yeah, we've discussed all that.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue there would be labor.
Yeah.
It would be,
Getting
you have
up,
to go to every
changing.
pole,
Mm-hmm.
and turn it out.
Gotcha. Just curious.
Time were you at all, this one was like 8 to 10 weeks?
Yeah, that's kind of why this is coming to a head, because developments are needing these, and we're running low on our current fixtures, and we need to get these ordered. Because I think our last order, Britt, if you remember, they said 8 to 10, I think it was 24, because of Corona.
Oh, sure.
Oh.
You know,
Blame it on that.
It's a good excuse.
Everybody
so
blames
They
it.
jumped on the bandwagon too, so.
Chocolate covered
You-
nuts to light fixtures.
You said those first two as you come into the subdivision were 8, 6, and 8. So I went down there, but I didn't notice, and maybe I needed to pay more attention. I didn't notice the difference in the illumination of them.
And we might have to maybe adjust those so you can see maybe a bigger, you know, we just
Yeah.
went 6 and 8, maybe you can't quite
Okay.
tell a big difference between them. And they're pretty close also.
When we go out there tonight, maybe I'll climb on your shoulders, we can dial it down.
Okay.
Perfect.
Might take Brandon too, so.
Awesome. Hey, thanks, Jake.
Thanks for the work on that.
All right.
One thing
So,
about these that's, I think, great. One thing about these that I think is great is that the dial feature that we can have it be from 1 to 10. That's a huge change in the industry, and I think that's a significant upgrade to what we could offer the resident in the neighborhood. But it is a different style of light. I mean, the light itself is different. It's really hard to describe that without seeing it, but the light, it looks different, it feels kind of different. And you'll get a sense of that when you go out there if you haven't seen it. But what we'll look for tonight from you is some of your thoughts and feelings on the look and feel of those.
good. All right,
I move we go into closed session for reasonably intimate litigation and land transaction.
Second.
got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Van Hall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone that was here, and everybody was watching.
Don't go away, Kira.